Well, before we get started, I'm going to give you a close-up of these old wheels and explain why I actually want to switch them out. So we'll start with the front wheels here, and you can obviously see somebody's put some concrete in there. That was their idea of wheel weights. A few years ago, I actually did attempt to remove this concrete from the wheels. I have a little air hammer, air chisel type deal that I was using, and it did not want to come out. You can see this is the part here that I tried to remove. So I got to looking at the wheels a little bit more closely, and even if I did get all the concrete removed, I started looking at the spokes here. This spoke is bent, that spoke is bent, that one's bent, and that one is bent as well. The others that are still embedded in concrete, I can't tell. So best case scenario, I remove all the concrete and I still have a less than ideal wheel here with the bent spokes. Coming around here to the left side, we've got one bent spoke there, another one right there, another one there, another one there. So again, it just wasn't worth my time to try to remove the concrete and still end up with 4 wheels. For all you Fordson experts out there, you can tell that the wheels have been torched out in between the cleats. People would sometimes do this to prevent mud and clay from packing in between the cleats on the outside, and this actually does work. The mud and the clay and even snow will come through the holes and just eventually fall off the wheels as you're driving. To be honest, I really didn't mind, you know, the cutouts all that much, but these cleats are in terrible condition anyway, and I think it's better to just go ahead and replace all 4 wheels at the same time. So here's the other side. The cleats on this wheel are also in pretty bad condition, and they've also been torched out in between the cleats. And in addition to that, this hub has got a big crack in it right there. So all 4 of these wheels are in pretty poor condition. For comparison, let's take a quick look at these replacement wheels. You can see how nice the cleats are. They're in very good condition all the way around, and they're still in original condition. That is, they've never been torched out in between the cleats. So except for some pitting here and there, these wheels are in pretty good shape. The front wheels also have some moderate pitting on the spokes, but all the spokes are straight, and there's of course no concrete in the wheels. They're in pretty good condition for being 100 years old. And if you're wondering where I found these wheels, well, I want to thank my friend Doug for that. His YouTube channel is called Doug in Virginia, and he's the one that got these wheels for me. He found them about 2 years ago and then ended up storing them for me until I was finally able to make arrangements for shipping. The wheels had to be shipped from pretty much the far eastern side of the United States out here to the Wild West, so that took a while to arrange that transport. Anyway, please check out his YouTube channel. He has some excellent Fordson F content as well over there, as well as some other tractors, projects, and even an old Model A rescue, which is fun to watch when he finally gets the engine going again. So thanks again to Doug for the wheels, and let's get back to the video. I do have an original toolkit for this tractor, so I'm going to use this at least partially. This is the lug bolt wrench, and this is the hub hook. I'll show you how that works in a little bit. And they fit together like that, so you can get leverage with either one. So we're going to crack these 4 lug bolts loose, and then I'll just spin them off with the impact after that. So the lug bolts go in these 4 outer holes right there. And before you can use the hook tool to pull the wedge out, take 2 of the lug bolts and put them in these holes. You run them all the way in, and what happens is they go through this plate and then they hit the face of the wheel, and you turn them in and it will act as a puller. It will pull the wedge out a little bit, and once you get it out a little bit, then you can use that hook tool to help get it out the rest of the way. Now I can use the hook tool to hopefully pull it out the rest of the way. All right, now the wheel should come right off. Well, it's pretty dirty in here, especially around where the grease cup is. So let me get this cleaned up and then we'll bring it back. Well, I've got the grease cup off to clean it and service it. I'm just going to jam a bunch of grease right into the axle with my automatic grease gun here. All right, let me hit this one more time with some cleaner, and then I think we'll be ready to put the wheel on. All right, I've got the donut back on, and just adding a little bit of grease to the spline. So these wheels are way too heavy for me to lift, so I've got it suspended with the engine lift. So you got to kind of push the wheel over the axle and then jam the wedge on to keep it there. So let's give this a try. And before you get the wedge jammed on there all the way, you of course have to get these 4 lug bolt holes lined up with the holes in the wheel. So leave it kind of loose like that, and I can see them now. They are pretty much lined up. I'm going to go ahead and get those started just so everything is in alignment, and then we'll knock the wedge on the rest of the way. All right, all the bolts are started and lined up. So I'm just gonna whack this wedge on just a little bit more. Oh yeah, that's looking good. That's about exactly how it was before. So now I'll get these bolts tightened the rest of the way. And you really don't want to be using a modern impact because you can actually crack things. And you wouldn't want to over torque this wedge and sort of squeeze the hub of the wheel, and you could crack it. So We'll get them snug, and then I'll lower the tractor down on the ground, and then we'll finish it up. Well guys, I was so wrapped up in the operation of getting this wheel installed that I put the wrong wheel on the wrong side. Yes, they are directional. Typically they're installed with the front of the cleats, this being the front facing to the forward of the tractor. Here I've got a copy of the original owner's manual, and you can see here we have the face of the cleats facing forward. And another photo right there, same thing, face of the cleats facing forward. And you can see I've got the front of the cleats facing towards the rear of the tractor. Would it work like this? Yes, of course it would, especially on a tractor that doesn't get used very much. But I just can't leave it like this. I want to do it right. So I'll go ahead and do that off camera. We'll get this wheel installed on the left side, and then we'll put the right wheel on the right side. After that, we'll move on to the fronts. All right, with the magic of editing, and about 45 minutes later, I've got the correct wheel on the right side. And, God. Well, I just got stung by a wasp. Man, that hurt. I haven't been stung in years. Anyway, I think I was saying I've got both rear wheels installed, and we can move on to the front. But I'm really happy with them installed in the correct direction. It just looks so much better. Yeah, it wasn't going to be a big deal if they were the other way, but I wanted it to be right. I've had this wheel off one other time in the past, that's why the grease looks so good. But I don't think I ever had the left side front wheel off, so that'll be interesting. And loosen the nut. Now I can jack up the front wheel and spin the nut off. All right, so it was the cotter pin, then the nut, then the stick washer, then the bearing, and that's all there is in there. So this wheel should come off. So both the inner and outer wheel bearings are in pretty decent shape on the old wheels, so I'm going to reuse those. And we'll just use the same type of wheel bearing grease that I had on there before. Okay, I'll make sure the new wheel is clean, and then we'll go ahead and get it installed. On the back side here, when you push the wheel on, you want to make sure you get it all the way flush, like that. Well, here's the old hubcap, and here's the hubcap from these wheels. Actually a little different. You see that? The old ones are a little bit deeper. Huh. Which one should we use? I think we're going to use the old one. I like the way the old one looks a little bit better. Let's lower it to the ground. Now I'm going to take this tool from the original Fordson toolkit. And these don't need to be super tight, just get them snug so they won't come off. Like that. All right, that wheel is installed. Now remember, I don't think I've ever had this wheel off, so I don't know what to expect on this side. For those of you who have never seen 50-year-old or 100-year-old grease before, this is what it looks like. And it's hard to the touch. See that? It's almost like a clay, but it's even kind of harder than clay. Oh yeah, I forgot this too. I showed you earlier in the video the condition of these wheels. There's an entire part missing right there. That's just more evidence and proof that it's time to get these wheels switched out. Wow, she's heavy. There's more of that old grease caked on there. Let me show you the inside of the hub. Look at that. It almost looks like there's rocks piled in there, but it's just clumps of old hard grease. It's going to take me a while to clean the spindle and the bearings and everything, so I'll do that off camera, then we'll be back right away. All right, I've got things much cleaner than they were before, and if anybody's interested, this is a Timken X, and it looks like 360 is the number. This is the inner bearing. The outer bearing is a Timken X, and I think that says 14118. So let's go ahead and start the reassembly process. Start with the backing plate. Okay, I'm happy with that. We're just gonna put a little bit more grease in here. And again, I'm using the hubcap from the old wheels versus the new because I like the way it looks a little bit better. Well, I wasn't sure if I was gonna like the red on the tractor or not, but I absolutely love it. I think it looks great. It gives the tractor kind of a different personality almost. Well, I can't remember the last time I started the tractor. It's been a little while anyway. Checked all the fluids, it's got gas. I've even got the gas turned on, and I've got a battery hooked up to assist in starting. So let's try to start it, and then we'll drive it around on the new wheels a little bit. First, I'm going to give it a couple of pulls with full choke with the ignition off. Now we're going to half choke, and I'm also going to introduce just a little bit of starting fluid into the manifold. Okay, ignition on. Yeah, the old girl still runs pretty good. No complaints there. It's just I drive this so infrequently. Every time I start it up and drive it, it's kind of have to get reacquainted with it again. But it does steer a little bit easier now with less weight in the front wheels. So that's something that I noticed for sure. And we've still got no major leaks or anything like that. There's no oil on the ground. There's no coolant coming out. I mean, despite its rough look, this is a pretty solid old tractor. This is one of those tractors for me that, you know, it's very impractical to actually try to use it. But it just puts a smile on my face every time I walk in the shop and see it. So it definitely earns its keep just by doing that. So I think we'll wrap this video up. And thanks again to Doug in Virginia. Please go check out his YouTube channel and subscribe. I really enjoyed getting back to the Fordson F. We haven't worked on it for quite a while. And I am very happy with these wheels. Take care, everybody. We will see you on the next video. A close-up of the toolkit I promised you. I'm pretty sure it's complete, but if I'm missing a piece, somebody please let me know. The Fordson script pliers and the Fordson script screwdriver are probably the hardest two to find in this whole set. The rest are semi-easy to get your hands on still on eBay and things like that. But if you ever see these, go ahead and pick those up because those are pretty rare.